What is the creepiest unsolved crime you have ever heard of? Had a friend go missing 5 days before the 4th of July go missing. He was kind and soft-spoken, never did drugs. But the last night anyone saw him, he told our group of friends, while we were out at a club, quite suddenly, that our lives were in inexplicable danger and we had to get the fuck out of there right now or everyone is going to die. We got him outside and calmed him down. Then he just took off running. He was a big dude and we couldn't catch up to him. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. 5 days later, on July 4th, he turned up face down in Montrose Harbor. A video from a nearby convenience store turned up showing him the next day after he went missing, coming in and asking if anyone turned in a lost cell phone. Autopsy was inconclusive and the comprehensive toxicology report was negative. It's been a year and we're still left with questions behind his death. This was around the same time a handful of college and post-grad students showed up face down in other harbors around Chicago. I live in San Antonio, Texas. There's a story about a maid walking into a room and seeing this man wrapping up sheets soaked with blood. She started screaming. He took off. The cops showed up and found blood all over the bed and in the tub. They followed the trail of blood outside, but it was raining, so they lost it. They found out he was at another hotel. He killed himself right before they opened the door. Well, they never found out who he killed. He had been seen bringing women over to his room. The city had a lot of construction going on in the 60s, so they think he threw the bag in some cement. There was an episode of America's Most Wanted that focused on unsolved kidnappings. One was about a girl who was kidnapped and was found dead. And every year, supposedly on the day she was murdered or her birthday, the kidnapper calls the mom. He doesn't say anything. She talks. Then he laughs and plays her daughter's favorite song With You All the Way by New Edition and hangs up. Update: yeah, I agree with you all how sadistic this sounded. It may not have been America's Most Wanted, it may have been some NBC News kidnapping special, and I saw this back in 1997. It's been almost 17 years and I haven't found anything online about it. Wish I could help more. I'll continue searching. Update: thanks again for all who commented. The kidnapping itself was in the early 80s. The phone calls started around 85 or 86. I don't think phone tracking was in the cards for this, and since there isn't any evidence linking the caller to the murder, it probably wouldn't be allowed. Just guessing. The mother would curse the man and wish him dead. He would just laugh and play the song. Today, whenever I hear that song, it just creeps me out. The McStay family disappearance murder. A family of 4 with 2 boys ages 4 and 5. One day they just disappeared from their home, left eggs out on the counter, bowls of popcorn for the kids left on the couch, their dogs left outside, the doors all locked with no sign of forced entry. Their car was found later in a mall parking lot full of newly purchased toys, the kids' car seat strapped in, and the driver and passenger seats left in a position appropriate for the parents' sizes. No one had any clue where they went or why. 3 years later their skeletal remains are found in 2 shallow graves 170 mi from where the car was found. I dated a guy a while back whose father was a retired cop who had worked the Waterdown area near Burlington, Ontario. From what I remember, there were several break-ins over the course of a few months that all occurred in the middle of the night while the residents were home. Nothing was ever stolen, no one was ever harmed, and there were no signs of forced entry. The intruder would just stand beside the bed, sprinkle some baby powder over his feet to leave an outline, just to let them know he had been 3 feet away watching them as they slept. They never caught the guy. The Somerton man. A body was found on Somerton Beach, dead and propped up against a seawall. There was no obvious cause of death. The man had no identification. No one claimed the body, and he matched no missing persons description. In the 40s, this wasn't completely unheard of, so it wasn't big news. But then the case got weird. In tracing his path based on the train bus tickets they found in his pockets, they discovered his suitcase, which also had no identification. In fact, labels were cut out of the clothes. It wasn't that someone lifted his wallet. When they found his body, he'd purposely hidden his identity ahead of time. A second examination of the body revealed a tightly rolled up piece of paper with the words "Tamam shut" on it, loosely translated to "it is ended," hidden in a watch pocket of his pants. Someone came forward with a copy of a popular poetry book, the Rubaiyat, that they had found in the backseat of their car near where the body was found, and the last page, which should have contained the words "Tamam shud," was torn out. Except when police tried to trace this version of the book, it was one that had never been printed anywhere. Although the book was popular, the typeset, size, and shape of this copy was completely unique in the world. The back of the book had a mysterious code written in it and 2 phone numbers. Actually, it had been written on the torn-out back page, but the indents were still visible on the back cover. One number was a bank, the other was a nurse who lived blocks away from the beach. The nurse insisted she didn't know the man, but when shown the body, detectives agree she clearly appeared to recognize him. The nurse had been an army nurse during the war and had been known to give copies of the poetry book away to another man, an army intelligence officer. The nurse's identity was kept secret for many years, but within the past year her children have come forward and said she confided to them that she did know the man, but never gave any details on how, and that she was a spy during the war. The code written in the book was never cracked, even though virtually every codebreaker in the world, amateur and professional, for the past 60 plus years, has given it a go. And that poetry book, the Rubaiyat. Another copy of it, also completely unique in the world, its title page said it was a 7th edition, but the publishing house had only printed 5 editions of it, was also linked to another mysterious death of a high-ranking government official. He was found dead in a park with a book open on his chest. A woman who testified at the inquest of his death was found dead in her bathtub, wrists slit open. And guess who frequented the hotel bar across the street from the park he was found in and had given a copy of the book to another man there 2 months after he died? The nurse. In 2003, a middle-aged pizza delivery guy walks into and robs a bank with a strange bulky collar around his neck. 15 minutes later he's stopped by police in a parking lot. He tells them that he was kidnapped, had a bomb collar fitted around his neck, and was told he had to rob a bank and give the money to his attackers or they would detonate the bomb. Sitting handcuffed in the parking lot, he's shouting at the police, "Take this thing off me. Why would you take this off me?" The police keep their distance and call the bomb squad. 3 minutes before the bomb squad arrives, the collar starts emitting an accelerating beeping noise. Moments later it goes off, blowing a hole in the man. 46-year-old Brian Wells died moments later. Despite 10 plus years of leads and mysterious evidence, the crime was never solved. Basically, a woman believed to be from the Pacific Northwest stole a birth certificate and started a new life. But there is absolutely zero counter evidence of her before 1988. She actually married and had a baby before killing herself post-divorce in 2010, which was when her ex-husband found the birth certificate and name change docs buried in her closet. The only theory I've seen that's remotely plausible was that she's an escapee from an FLDS community. It could explain that she never did have her own birth certificate, and more than one person's pointed out a similarity between her and an FLDS prophet's family that got into some serious trouble in the 80s. Maura Murray disappeared the evening of February 9, 2004, after crashing her car on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. She was in college, emailed professors she had to go home due to a family emergency, false, packed her bags and left. She withdrew $280 from an ATM. She then bought $40 worth of alcohol. She got into a car accident at approx 7:30, someone pulled over and offered to call the police. She refused and asked them not to. The witness drove home and called the police. By the time they arrived she was gone, and all her belongings were left in the car except her debit card, credit card, and cell phone, none of which have ever been used or found.